This is
Hello,
this is
Hello.
Dr. Nancy Sutton Pierce. This is
Caroline
the
Potter here.
Not Dead Yet live show, and it's about raising women's voices. And we're looking for a new name, and we've got a great guest today. And Karen Lee Potter is going to give her intro.
So we have here a very dear friend of mine, Nancy Atkinson. Yay! I met Nancy, how many years ago? Had to be before COVID.
Before a couple years before COVID, yes.
Yes. And we've been BFFs ever since. And I thought I'd bring her on the show because she's got a tremendous amount of experience and wisdom. And I thought, what better person to bring on the show than Nancy Atkinson? We have two Nancys here. So we got Fancy Nancy Sutton Pierce.
I get the fancy Nancy one, huh?
Hi, Karen. Hi, Nancy. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure.
We're thrilled to have you, and your story is compelling and exactly what our show is about. So, do you want to just begin and then we can pop in questions and comments as we go?
Okay, well, find a place to begin. It's like, when you get to our wise age, ladies, there's so many beginnings and so many endings. But what I want to share is I think the one thing that has shaped my life the most and has especially impacted me more now than it ever has, in a positive way. Being the third daughter, my two older sisters, so I was the third. I was always the baby sissy. So I was not quite allowed to do what the others did. And they would, learn to play tennis together and other things. And I always had to stay home. I always had to sit out. I was the third wheel. I was the young one. When they went out on dates, that's the only time my mother sent me. And then I was kind of like the unofficial chaperone to get in their way. And then my mother was, bless her, love her, but she was a perfectionist. And no matter what you did and how good it was, she would always say, oh, that's really good, honey, but you could do this next time to make it even better. My father, very controlling, narcissistic. Women didn't really count much, and the whole family bowed down to him. And I think then as I grew up, I just grew up with the attitude that I was not good enough.
And you grew up in West Virginia.
In West Virginia, very old-fashioned Protestant, from this, raised by the silent generation who were rule abiders. And I cannot say, I always felt like I was the black sheep. I always questioned the rules. I lived by them, but there was always something in the back of my mind telling me there's more to life than this.
Well, having a mom that's kind of set and has high expectations for their children does shape us, right?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. When did you realize how she was shaping you?
I think, well, first of all, the two major events in my life, I made the decision because it was the thing to do, not because that's what was good for me. That is what I wanted to do, but that's what you're supposed to do. And that led to two marriages and two divorces. So I think I was beginning to question along those lines, but I think really she passed away about 3 years ago. And I went through a phase about a year ago. It took me about that long to really grieve for her and to accept that she was gone. And I started becoming frozen in life. Things that I had done for years was considered an expert in. Horseback riding is one of them. Dancing is another one. And I would just get on a horse and freeze up and think, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to ride. Why am I even up here? And then I was giving lessons one day, and the student was working with a particular horse on a particular quest. And I thought, oh, wow, I'm a really good teacher. Look how well she's doing. Look how she's controlling that horse, asking it to do exactly what we want it. I'm really a good teacher, but I'm a better teacher than a rider. Then 2 days later, I was on the same horse and I was asking the horse to do the very same thing. And it's like, I did it better. So then I thought, oh, I really can ride a horse. And all of that dissolved and that was fine. And then I went through the same thing on the dance floor. I would go to these festivals, these workshops. I love the workshops because it's all learning, and I love learning and progressing and always developing and becoming a new person. But when it came time for the evening social dancers, I would get there up to dance with somebody, and again, I would be so frozen I couldn't move. And then I thought, why? My whole life I've done these things. Why all of a sudden am I afraid?
And how long after your mom passed was that, did you
That
say?
was 2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
So within that 2 years, had you been just kind of in a fog dealing with mom stuff
I
and
just put it over there. It was like I just put it over there. And she was ill for a long time, and I think the last 10 years of her life she lived just out of stubbornness, to take care of my dad,
Mm.
and she just basically just couldn't go anymore. And I think it just for 2 years it was just like, okay, that's over there, fine, she's passed away, but it didn't really sit home until 2 years after her death. And even then, I did not connect those two at all. And once I realized I'm frozen, what's going on, and I did a lot of meditation, a lot of thinking. And then one morning, in that nice little zone when you're half asleep and half awake and reality really hits you, it just dawned on me that after spending all those years not being good enough, and an example of that, 2 days before my mother passed away, she told the whole family how I had wasted their money on my university degree because it was worthless.
Oh, that's very hurtful.
Yes, but she didn't mean it that way because, I was supposed to be a doctor, a lawyer, Indian chief, whatever. And I wanted to be in international business because I was more open-minded. I saw the need for companies that have offices in several destinations, and I like to travel, I like to explore the world, and I wanted to do international business, and I had always planned to go back and get the master's, which, life came in the way and that never happened. But I had a bigger vision than she could see. But it hurt that she always, to her dying day, thought that my degree was worthless. Now, mind you, my other two sisters only have associate degrees. I was the only daughter that had a 4-year degree.
Hmm.
But it was still, I was a disappointment. And knowing that, and then she passed away, and I was sitting there, laying there in bed in the early morning hours, and it just dawned on me. I was stuck and frozen because now my mother had passed on, and I would never have the opportunity to prove to her that I was enough.
Mm,
And that was why I had become frozen.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what is it about moms that we feel like we have to prove ourselves to?
They're our mold. They're the ones that form us. They're the ones that tell us what is right, what is wrong, what to believe, what not to believe.
Mhm.
So of course we want to fit into that image that they have told us we should be. Because
I think our generation in general had specific roles for us women to play. I mean, I didn't have the opportunity like my brother did to go to med school. I was to be a social worker, occupational therapist, a teacher, a nurse, but something in the helping field enough that I can get a husband.
Right, that was a point of going to university. I was like, we were probably the first generation where women really were widely accepted in universities. It was becoming more accepted and expected that girls could go to university. We could continue our education. Before then, it was pretty much just for the boys.
Right.
And mostly, though, we were there, like Karen said, to find a husband. We
Yeah.
were
You
all there
get your
for our
MRS degree.
MRS degree, exactly. And
I did.
I think that has even doubled my mom's disappointment because they were supporting me. If I wanted to be a doctor or a dentist, lawyer, whatever I wanted to be, they would have supported me in that. And I chose a completely different area that they did not understand.
Do you think there was a form of rebellion on your part?
I started out in pre-med, and then because of the generation, even if I had finished and become a doctor, I'm thinking, okay, but I'm a woman and I have to be a mother too. And to have such a high-powered career as a medical doctor and be an honest to goodness mother and I had a stay-at-home mother. So I had problems balancing those two roles in my head. So I think it was more of what will fit in with having both. And then I thought about pharmacy. But in those days, a pharmacist pretty much just sat behind the counter and counted out pills. I think now they have more interactions with doctors and they make rounds with doctors. I think it's opened up a lot more now, but it wasn't back in those days. So then I really liked languages and I really liked to travel. And I was thinking, okay, well, business, there's big companies and they have offices everywhere. So obviously they're going to need somebody that can speak both languages, understand both cultures. And that was international business.
Okay. So I pick up on an accent. Where is your accent from?
Very good question, Nancy. It is a combination. I grew up in West Virginia.
Okay.
I can still talk about, doing the wash up by the holler, down by the creek. That's still in there. But mostly it's from living in St. Lucia, an island in the Caribbean. And I have lived there for over 40 years. And it's just survival of the understood.
Very good. Yeah, I knew there was something happening there.
Yes, yes.
So in your journey through this, the beliefs you had as a child about being a woman and expectations of your mom and needing to live up to those expectations so you didn't disappoint her. How do you think that shaped your choices?
Oh, it was 100% shaping my choices. Like I said, my first marriage, I was fresh out of college, and the gentleman that I was dating was moving to Tennessee, and he was going to go into the construction business with his brother-in-law, who was already established there. And he says, "Why don't you just come and live with me?" Well, I'd been in university, I had boyfriends, it was like, and then to move back home now, and I really wanted to escape. So I said, okay. But when I told my family I was going to go to Tennessee and live with this gentleman, it was the biggest uproar you could ever imagine. And my father, who never was involved in raising us, sat me down and had a long talk and told me how much I was hurting my mother with this decision. And it was all about mom. So I told the gentleman, I said, okay, I'm not going. So he said, well, let's go get married. I said, okay. So we drove all night across the state line into Virginia, where same-day marriages are allowed, and got married.
It's so funny because my parents, even though I was engaged to be married at, I was 21, they wanted me to be like single in their mind, meaning that I wasn't supposed to live with my then husband, even though we were engaged. They wouldn't let us live in the condo and sin together, which we did. Don't tell anybody. But those days, and I think all three of us have that in common, that we all got married at a very young age when the brain is not fully formed.
I mean, we were practically living I was practically living with another gentleman during my university years, and we were pre-engaged. And I was used to that. And then I moved home and all of this was not allowed. And I didn't find a job that I was happy with. I was ready to move. I was ready to get out of the area. I was ready to move on with my life. And this was an opportunity, but I was not ready to get married.
Were you raised with a religious umbrella? Hmm?
Yes, yes. Very, very strict Protestant. Girls don't wear fingernail polish. You don't wear red lipstick. Your dresses have to be 4 inches below your fingertips. And, dancing was like a total taboo thing. So yes, very, very religious.
I find it so interesting as I work with women all over the world, how religion has formed us under the guise that it's to protect us. And so then I always ask, from what? And it's generally from men who are going to take advantage of us or hurt us or do things to us. And I keep asking, what are they telling the guys as they're growing up? What are the expectations for the boys?
I
What
think that expectations are to provide for their family.
They are. And I think as long as they provide, they're pretty much not expected to do anything else. I think they're given carte blanche, permission, freedom. Um, so much so that your husband is cheating on you. Well, honey, he's providing for you. Just turn a blind eye and pretend like that's not happening.
I
And
talked to a friend of mine today, and you're 2025, and she's saying how she needed more money for something. So she'd have to ask her husband for more of allowance for that month. And
Oh,
I never understand it. How you get an allowance from your husband? What happens if you use too many diapers and you ran out of your money for the month? Do you not you buy diapers? Do you, do you, do you use cloth? I mean, it's in this day and age, people are still getting allowances.
they're still getting allowances. And I even know a lady who doesn't have any clue about their finances. She's never paid a bill. She doesn't know where their bank accounts are. She knows nothing. She
It's
just
such a
totally
huge
dependent
mistake.
financially on her husband. Yes.
sadly, we probably all know women who've been in that situation and then they lost their husband and they're they're distraught. Some are financially destitute. They don't know what's happening. It's doing such a disservice to ourselves and our families to
I
not.
had never even gone to rent a car. My husband died. I had no idea about what was going on with the finances. I had to have three friends of his come in and go through all the files to try to figure out what was going on.
Mhm.
Because, I got money, I spent it. Sometimes I was on a spending freeze.
I was a bit rebellious about a lot of that in my marriages, and my second marriage in particular, because he was very chauvinistic. It's a culture in St. Lucia where it is very male dominated and male driven, and he would maybe go out. It's very common after work, go out, have a few drinks with the boys. Don't come home till 11 or 12 o'clock. And he came in one night and he pulled me out of bed and he said, "Go warm my dinner up." And I said, "Oh, you weren't working, were you?" Because my mom says if the man's working, you have to take responsibility and take care of him. But he'd been out playing. And I said, "Nope, you were out playing." And he insisted. So I said, "Okay, fine." Went into the kitchen. I had cooked a whole chicken for dinner. It was in the oven, which is a customary thing there. Dinner's always in the oven. And pulled it out, went out to the balcony, called the dogs, flipped the pan upside down, and went back to bed.
Ho, ho, ho.
So, yes, I was a little rebellious during my marriages to some extent, but you just get tired and you get worn down over the years and you just give up.
But the expectation is that if the husband's working, that the wife is going to provide dinner, whether it's order in or cook it, but that's the way it goes.
That's the way it goes. But in this case, he hadn't been working. He'd been out playing. And I drew the line there. It's like, no, dinner's at this time. If you're working, that's fine. I'll get up. I'll fix your dinner, put it on the table for you. You are not working. You're on your own.
Nancy, Dr. Nancy, what was it like for you when you were in the early stages of your first marriage?
I mean, it's very similar. I mean, well, it wasn't a good situation. But he had the belief that the man had made the decisions, and I was rebellious very early in life and said, "Oh hell no, it's it's my life. We will make decisions together." And he said, "But I will have the final say because I'm the man and I'm making the money." And so I said, "Well, guess what? I'm finishing my education. We'd been married. I had a 2-year-old, and I went back to school, got my nursing degree, and just said, F you. I'm out of here." He wanted to control. He controlled through anger and violence and manipulation and money holding. And that is slavery.
Where do you think he learned that from, though?
I think his parents, our parents' generation, was passing that down to us, right?
Right.
And I think because I didn't really grow up like as a teen in the 60s. I was a little bit before that or after that, I should say. But I think the 60s and the Vietnam War and There was a lot of civil rights movements happening. So I think while we were growing up, things were changing, but the messages we had already been given were pretty locked in. Like, when you were talking about like what you girls don't, you can't wear this and you shouldn't do that and don't do this. They didn't give the guys a list of don'ts, except for, I think some of them were told, don't get a girl pregnant. They didn't tell them how not to, just don't get a girl pregnant. But they never said, there are rules out there on how you treat people. And so guys just got to go out and treat women as they chose. And they
Mhm.
thought we were there to take care of them.
That's it. And I think there's still a lot of men out there that still feel that way, particularly in various societies. And St. Lucia is one of those that's still very, very male dominant. We have some very powerful, wonderful women as well. But I don't know, you still hear the phrase, oh, the wife's place is in the home. That woman, your woman should be home. And it's like, I don't play by those rules. So if that's what you want, go elsewhere. Um, but you still hear that a lot, and it's still the man has the final say. He tells the woman what to do. You don't embarrass your man in public. Um,
Mm.
there's a code of how your relationship is to be presented to the world.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things to teach young people today that are getting married, for the women especially, don't lose your identity in your career. Even if you have children or whatever's going on, just make sure you keep your identity separate so that if something happened, that you have something to fall back on. If you
think
give it
that
up,
It's more than that, Karen. It's not just falling back on it, but it makes for a healthier relationship in the long run.
absolutely.
Because one
that
person
was
does
what my mother said.
follow.
Oh, you should get a degree in something so just in case he leaves you or dies.
Oh my God.
She
And
had
it's
no
not,
concept that I would choose to leave.
yes. And not, it's not just leaving, but while you're living with that person, if you have your own life and you go do your thing, they go do their thing. And then when you do have time together, it's more of an equal balance. It's not just you're sitting home all day waiting for him to come home and
Mhm.
he's been working all day and he comes home and he's tired. It's no, you're doing your thing, they're doing their thing. You're not under each other's feet all day. It's a very healthy, respectful thing. So you're all both very independent people, but you enjoy sharing that time together. It's not a forced time to be together. Is you're enjoying it and sharing it together, and it makes for a much healthier relationship.
I think there's been a lot of changes in the last 50 years, thank God.
Yes,
And so how have you raised your kids different than how you were raised?
I'm not sure that I did
Mm,
because I married my father.
okay.
Okay, so extremely narcissistic, cruel in an underlying verbal way and in a circumstantial way. And I dedicated my lifetime to buffering my children from the damages
Mm,
that they received from their father.
mm,
And even to the point that I stayed with him many years longer than I would have, but I knew that he would have used their education, their lives, um, further in their lives as a weapon if I tried to leave him before then. So I made sure that they were well educated. And then I left him. So I think I did not raise them exactly how I would have in different circumstances, but I got them raised, got them educated, and I think that
And some.
and pretty good, yeah.
So
Both her sons are, both her kids are lawyers
nice.
with more advanced degrees.
Now, since you had kind of an awakening a couple of years ago, it sounds like, when after you, or maybe even just a year ago, you said your mom's been gone 3 years.
Yes. Mhm.
And so then a year ago, you kind of came to the realization that the not being enough thing wasn't real.
No, it's not a real thing.
Okay.
And it was when I went through this frozen period. And when I realized what it was stemming from, it's like, okay, I figured that out. Now, what do I do about it?
Mhm.
And that took just a lot of self work and really searching, inner searching, and just finally realized that I don't have to prove myself to anybody. If I'm
Mhm.
happy with who I am, I said, look at all I have accomplished. Let's look at that. Let's look at the things I've done. It's like I've raised two beautiful children. I was the managing editor of the tourist publication for years. I had a very successful writing school. I'm getting ready to publish a guidebook. It's like I have achieved things and I have done things in my life. And I said, I like that. And I decided I have a voice. I have opinions. And I'm allowed to voice my opinions, and my opinions are just as valid than everybody else as everybody else's. And it's given me a new form of freedom. And I've also realized I've stopped being as judgmental of other people because, yeah, I have my flaws, but that's okay. We all do. But I have to let other people have their flaws as well. So I've stopped expecting so much from other people, and I'm much happier in relationships as well.
And are they really flaws or are they just uniqueness and life experience that shapes us all in such different ways?
That's right, because even using the word flaws is somewhat judgmental.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, yeah. They let's say there's things that maybe I would prefer they didn't to do, but they do it and it's who they are, so whatever. And actually, one of my closest friends in St. Lucia right now, sorry, Karen.
I was
Um,
gonna, who the heck?
Yeah.
You cheating on me with somebody else in St. Lucia?
well, we're that separation thing. You got to love the one you're with. Um, but we get along well because we don't agree on anything, except for it's okay to disagree.
Yes.
So we'll talk about, oh, what do you think about that? Well, I think that's nonsense. I don't believe that at all. Okay, what wine are we having? And it's just very nice to be with somebody. We don't argue about anything. We have our opinions. We don't agree on it. And then we say, okay, all right, let's go have lunch.
You know,
So,
back to the father aspect of this whole thing, it's amazing. Like I remember I was wearing blue jeans, and at the time it was like the more ragged the bottom frayed of the blue jeans, the better. So I was cultivating this one long thread, that where I'd walk around and with my hip hugger, wide bottom jeans. And one day my dad just saw it and he like slammed his foot on top of it and ripped the bottom off. I was, but this is what I remember.
mm,
Again, that's him showing me who's in control of what I was wearing. And when he passed away, there is a certain freedom that, I
mhm.
mean, I love my father. He was a very, very special, wonderful man. But the freedom of, I don't have to ask opinions about things. My mom is not capable of understanding. So it's like not having those external pressures from my parents has let me like, I feel a sense of liberation.
Yes.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
think that's what we were kind of coming around to for
Yes.
Nancy is, that she spent a lot of years under the umbrella of her mom's beliefs.
Mhm.
And,
And father's beliefs.
right, our upbringing, but it sounds like, I mean, Karen, your dad was probably more influential to you, but my dad was a typical dad where he went to work, he came home, he had his martinis, he went to bed. I mean, he didn't ask us about our day. He didn't participate in our lives.
No,
He
our
My
dinner
mom
time,
raised us.
our dinner time was like he'd come home from work. He was a doctor. He'd come home from work. Me and my siblings would sit at the table, and no one was allowed to talk to him until he was done eating because he was very, crabby from not eating all day long. But we had all had to sit there and not say a word. And if we did, out came the ruler and hit, hit us on the hand or the slipper. Bam.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, the way we were raised and our generation and maybe 10 or 15 years either way, we had this set of beliefs that we bought into, And I've always believed that our job as adults is to unpack that as quickly as possible and decide which of those beliefs fits the adult we want to be.
Mhm.
Because we have choices.
We do have choices, but sometimes it takes us a long route to get to the point where we realize that we have our own choices.
Yes.
And
And I do think that my father ended up coming around as I got older and had my own family. And I had a podcast called Sex Talk with my mom, with my son. And we were on the Megyn Kelly show, the morning show, whatever. I don't even want to say Megyn Kelly, the morning show. It was a big deal. And we flew to New York to be on that show. And I said to my dad, "Are you going to tell your friends to watch it?" He said, "No, I'm embarrassed." It was very hurtful to hear that. And the next day he called me up and he said, "I'm sorry, I did not mean that." So that was growth.
Yeah.
And it really meant a lot that he called back and said, "I made a mistake. I should have, been more proud and had my friends watch it."
Well, I think we all would agree that that the stage of our lives where we lost our parents or the primary parent that had the most judgmental or influence over who we become, when they die, it is a freedom. It is a release from that the burden of having to please somebody else as we're trying to find out who we are as human beings. And I would ask every woman that's listening and men, if you're a parent, do you really want to wait, have your kids have to wait until you die to feel authentically loved for who they are and to let go of the need to please you?
That was very beautiful.
You're
yeah,
just another human
but
being,
I
right?
don't think parents even realize. I think my mother would have been shocked to know how I felt.
Mm,
I don't think they're doing what they feel. They're so caught up in doing what is the best for you in their minds that
Or there are external people, like, what would my neighbors think if you walked around with, dressed like, in a mini skirt? You can't dress like that. What would all these other people think? Who gives a fuck what other people think?
that's their concern for you is they don't want people to think badly of you. They don't want you to have that bad reputation because then in those days when you went for a job or you were looking for a husband, if you had that bad reputation, you couldn't move up in the world.
right.
Even
I
something as simple as getting a tattoo. My brother
oh,
was too
yes.
scared to tell my parents, so he said it was he got like a Grateful Dead dancing bear, and he didn't want to tell my parents, so he told them it was like one of those removable ones. It was
Got stuck.
henna.
Yeah, I remember when my son got his or was thinking about it, and we were up by the pool, and there was another one of his friends there, and I could tell she was asking him questions he did not want to discuss in front of me. So
Mhm.
finally I said, "Okay, Daryl, what's going on?" He says, "Well, Mom, I've been thinking about maybe getting a tattoo." And I kind of learned with my kids that sometimes you just even over accept it and it makes them have a double look. And then if it's still what they want to do, they go ahead. So I just looked at him. I said, "Oh, Daryl, I've been thinking about getting one too. Maybe we could go together." And then he says, "Mom, it's not a family activity."
Oh, yes, it is.
Yes, it can be.
I mean, it's hard to, like, my son was getting these tattoos, and I'm like, oh my God. One of them was like, takes up all his forearm. But you know what? It works for him.
It works for him.
It's his style. That's his thing.
Well, this actually opened a dialogue between my son and myself because then it was like, "Mom, I'm thinking of this now for the tattoo. What do you think? I want something realistic. Can you send me some pictures that you have of this so
Mhm.
I can give it to the artist and we can discuss it?" So it actually broke that barrier and opened that dialogue that he included me then in something that he was trying to keep from me.
Yeah.
And he was the only one that knew my son had a marine iguana on.
He knows his science, he knows his animals, yes.
Well, hopefully this conversation, my hope is that somebody out there will be inspired to have to pause and think about, am I still working to get acceptance from a parent, even though I'm 50, 40, whatever? Is it my parents' acceptance that or lack of that's holding me back to build my finest life? I mean, life is so short. We all get, as far as we know, this one. And so to have to wait until we're 50 or 60 till we've lost our parents to feel free to be who we are meant to be. I just think that's sad. And we're also cheating our parents out of getting to know who we really are.
That is a very, very, very true statement because I don't think either one of my parents, my father's he's still alive, but he has Alzheimer's. So it's still mentally, he knows I'm a daughter. He just never remembers which one. But I don't think my mother ever knew me because in her mind, I wasn't who I was supposed to be. She had a mental image of me that she tried to mold and create. And I've always called that a person's false self
Mhm.
because it's what we're taught. It's what our base is, what our foundation is, what we should be. It's family, it's society, church. And that is the self that we learn to be, to present to the world.
Hmm.
And to step away from that and find your true self
Mhm.
is a lot of hard work. It's scary,
Mhm.
but it's very exciting and it's so much freedom to be found in it.
I do feel that that generation, our parents' generation, they didn't get a lot of psychology books to understand about parenting. That, you had Dr. Spock, that's about it. So I do have to say that it's not 100% like their fault. They
No,
just didn't know any better.
Yeah.
correct.
They were raised probably by even more distancing parents. I mean, my mother was one of four, and I'm sure that she was like an oops, and I'm sure that there was always like some resentment because they were very poor people, and there was four kids, and I think it was just getting survival basically. So she didn't know any better. So now she's raising a kid, and it just perpetuates this cycle.
It's very generational. I mean,
Right.
we can see that with our own families, right? Our parents, our grandparents,
Mhm.
getting to know your parents or getting to know your kids, that wasn't even a thing, right?
No.
You raised them. That's it.
Raised them and then they were gone. And that
Right.
was pretty much it. And I would tell you now, with my adult children, I enjoy our time together as adults.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of who my children are. And I will tell them that. And I enjoy my time with them. And we don't have sex talk. Sorry, Karen, but and that
We're
again,
working on that.
yeah, we're working on that, but we don't have those yet. But it's just talking to them about who they are, who their friends are, what they enjoy doing, and letting them feel free and have that space and that forum to express themselves and not feel like you're judging them.
I feel like it's one of the great privileges in life to be able to have deep, meaningful relationships with your children as they grow and your grandchildren, and for them to know you, know your quirks and your challenges and what you've overcome. And that's part of the catalyst for this show is, we get to leave these videos out there for our kids and grandkids to be able to go back and figure out who were we.
Well,
And
you have your granddaughter on the show already.
yeah, and I invited my
Pretty
other
amazing.
one today. It's like you got an open invitation. Yeah.
She was beautiful, very well spoken, and her film was very spot on. Very,
Yes. I thought
that's
you
a
were going to
very,
joke
very
that.
sage for a young woman.
Yes. Yes.
So we are looking for a much shorter, concise name for this show.
Yep.
So if you're watching this and you got any ideas, put it in the comments and just give us ideas of what we can do to make, spot on as to what the show's about and how it can be said in a very short way.
So we have Mrs. Elv in the chat room, by the way.
Yay.
And so let's see. And she was talking, I think she ended last week talking about the names of the show, and that she said, we're both role models, Karen. I think that's very
Oh,
sweet.
thank you, Mrs. L.
And Judy, I'll connect with you after this. I'll find a way to connect with you here. And then she says they made women to not prioritize their education, not to deal with things, to depend on a man. In other cases, men would earn money and women would manage the household finances because that was part of the housework, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
And if that wasn't enough, it was the woman's problem. And so today, women are bringing in the money and still doing most of the housework in a majority of homes. Hence why the number of women that are filing for divorce now is higher than it's ever been. And the age between 40 and 60 is the highest divorcing section of women who are done taking care of houses, children, and men that don't feel like they have a egalitarian partnership because they're working outside the home, they're making the money, and oh, we lost somebody here. Um, so I think that's a big one that we have to pay attention to. And it's not an excuse, but to better understand, we should also think about their own experiences and our parents' generation. And I think those are great conversations to have if your parents are still alive. I lost both of my parents by the time I was 34.
Hmm.
So I didn't get to have these. So I'm telling you my wish list that I had been able to have these conversations with my parents and to help them identify how they were raised and how that influenced their parenting
Sure.
so that we can humanize parents and realize they make mistakes. They do things out of just rote memorization
Right.
based on what was done to them. And it's only when we become conscious of the impact that what we're doing is having on our children that we can make meaningful changes.
Absolutely. And within any system, any relationship with friends and family outside of your own intimate group is always super important. What happened? We just lost Nancy?
Yeah, she pinged out. I'm not sure what, or maybe her Wi-Fi busted her out.
Hmm.
Um, we are women, hear us now. Yes, hear
Yeah,
us
women,
roar.
hear us roar.
Yes. So
Roaring women,
so we are looking for a shorter name. I was liking the empowered women's voices.
which is
Or
not short.
I know. I can't come up with like we could just say women.
How about women roar?
Women roar. Women's voices. What was the other one? Women speak? No. Um,
We're entertaining. We're not going to jump into it quite yet. We're
no, we're
entertaining.
we'll merge it over the next 2 months. We'll
We'll figure out
create some
how to.
names, some taglines, and we'll merge it. And we want to hear from you. We want your vote on what you think the name should be. We like the not dead yet as a tagline, it's like we're roaring because we're not dead yet. We're still fully alive and
Right.
vibrant and participating. So, but we want this to really be a place where women feel completely supported and empowered to tell their story because it matters. And it's going to help so many other women who are coming up behind us or who are sitting right next to us that haven't heard our story.
Absolutely. And I want to thank my dear friend Nancy Atkinson for coming on and sharing her story.
Yes, powerful.
Brilliant. And I'm so glad that she made this transformation happen in the last few years. And if you want to find her, we'll probably put a link or two
Yeah,
in the show notes underneath here on YouTube and Facebook.
great. And Karen, what have you got up your sleeve? What's happening with you and your ongoing story?
Oh, we just had our 500th episode of Sex Talk with my mom. It
Yeah.
was that we brought the whole family in. It was a riot. And then recently I went down to San Diego Fringe Festival. My son and two of my sons are in the Fringe Festival. So if you want to check them out, you can follow them on Instagram, and one is called Lighter Lord, and the other one is called Cam on Cam 69 or something like that. You could check out their work. Oh, here she's back.
You came back.
I just no, I lost connection. I'm using my personal hotspot and I don't know what happened there, but I am back.
Hotspot went cold.
Well, we wanted to know like where you want people to find you.
Where I am Nancy Haynes Atkinson on Facebook.
Okay.
That's the best place for them to find you.
That's the best place for them to find me. Send me a message. I have other things in the works, but as Karen knows and is well aware, the social media thing is new to me, and I'm learning.
She's got some great stuff in the works. She's got a children's book. She's got a book about St. Lucia. She's an expert photographer, bird watcher,
Dance instructor.
Dance instructor, and I am a
horseback riding expert.
and a travel organizer. So anybody wants a specialized trip to St. Lucia, that is Holiday Pursuits.
Oh, very good. Well, we'll get all this. Maybe you can give all of your links to Karen, and then she'll share them with me, and we'll put them in the body of
Yes.
video on YouTube. And when your book is ready, you can send us the link, and we'll add that.
Thank you very much.
And Dr. Nancy, what do you want to tell us about what's going on in your life?
Well, right now I'm in Southern California, and I just spent the last weekend with my two middle grandchildren, 7 and 10. Just the three of us having a girls' weekend. It was so fun. I'm exhausted, but it was really fun. That's such a fun age. And then I got to see my two littles, the 2 and 4-year-old. And this next weekend, my oldest granddaughter is doing her college graduation in San Diego. So I'll be going down and seeing both her and my middle one, Avery, which everybody has met.
Congrats.
It's a grand week. Yeah, they're busy, fun. My
All right.
third grandchild turns 11 this week. So
unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. Well, thank you, Nancy, so much for your time and sharing your story. And is there anything that you would like to, a message or a little tidbit that you would like to leave our listeners?
One little quote
with? Yeah, a Nancy
My
quote.
main thing is as you know, I've spent my whole life learning that not good enough is not a real thing. I hope everybody can embrace that earlier in life than I did. Be yourself. Find out who you are. Be proud of yourself. Love yourself.
Maybe that's what we should call the show. Good enough.
Good enough. Better than good enough.
Every person has their story. Every person has their journey, and you can learn from everyone, and you have something to teach everyone. So get out there and use your voice, share it, and tell your story.
Yeah.
And be proud of it.
And Nancy, what do you want to say? What's your billboard going to say?
Well, I think every day you wake up, you get to decide whether you're a warning or an example. We're never neutral. And that's a conscious choice that we get to make. And I do wake up and decide today if I'm going to be one or the other. And I usually I try to be an example. I try to walk my talk and live my truth and not try to meet other people's expectation of me, which is, I think, for all of us, an ongoing battle with just life and culture. But I think if we can support each other and being authentic and true to ourselves and living it in that light and cut each other a lot more slack.
That's right. Because if we want them to accept us, then we have to accept them.
We have to accept ourselves first.
And once we do that, we have to accept the other people, and we can't, it's not fair. Accept ourselves and then still judge other people. it makes life so much simpler. It makes the relationship so much deeper.
I think one of the best compliments I've ever received from my kids, my youngest daughter, and they've all said it at different times, but when she said to me, when she was in college and she was kind of discovering through her friends' parent stories, like that we were a little different. And so, but she said the thing that because our kids can talk to us about anything, everything. There's no limits. And she said that so many of her friends felt squelched and had to be protective and couldn't be truthful. And she said to me, My mom never judges me, and she will always support me flying whatever freak flag I want to fly."
Love it.
That's
All
beautiful.
right, and here's my quote,
Okay.
and especially now that I'm learning about microbiomes, follow your gut.
Yes.
That's the best thing I can give you for advice. Just follow what your gut tells you to do. It's never going to be wrong.
I can attest to that. It hasn't been wrong. How about you, Nancy? Your
I
gut?
follow your gut, because as we were talking before, false self, true self, your gut is your true self,
Yeah.
true to yourself.
Listen to that inner guidance system. It's really good.
Well, can we have Nancy Atkinson on again?
Yes, let's do that.
That
Yeah, for sure.
I'll bring my book next time.
Please
Definitely.
do. Yes, anything that you're creating, bring it on because we want to be able to inspire women of all ages and stages to stay in that creative energy, which coming from a clinical sexologist is sex energy. That is where our creative juices form. And so if we can stay in that and with dance, moving our hips, moving that pelvis moves that energy and it helps us stay young and vibrant and interested and curious and the student as we move into the realm of also being a teacher. So thank you both. This is awesome.
Love
More
you guys.
power.
Thank you. Love you.
Bye.
All right, until next week, we will be back for another episode of we're not sure the name, but not dead yet. Wild Women Wisdom. All right. Bye, ladies.
Bye.